Welcome back to Credit Nerdery, presented to you by Kyronic Financial. This morning we want to revisit two things. We want to revisit the disputing process, but we also want to discuss it from the perspective of collections. I want to actually give you some information as you dispute collections so you kind of understand what goes on behind the scene. And I want to use the case, the famous case, as a demonstration of what you need to think about when you dispute. The famous case of Enkel v. Midland Funding. Midland Funding v. Terry Enkel. You can look up the case and you can look through it. What happens with this case is that Midland Funding was reporting a collections account on Enkel, right? But Enkel disputed the account, and Midland verify the credit bureaus did not take off the account. And we're discussing this in the context of the disputing process and specifically collections. What end up happens is that Midland did not follow proper procedure. How Midland come by in the collections packet that we have, that is in the description of this video. I walk you through the debt buying industry briefly, not anything long, but I walk you through in the introduction of the packet, because the packets are not just about letters. I kind of give you the framework in which you should think about the particular item that you're disputing. So one of the things that I did in the packet is to walk you through the debt buying process and how collectors come by the debt, what they have, what they don't have, and so that you have a framework in how you're thinking about crafting your letter and know when they respond to you, what is it they might or might not have that they might not tell you. So in that packet, I give you a brief walkthrough of the debt buying industry. All right. So I'm going to add some more information to that now in this video. In the case of Enkel versus Midland Funding, what Midland Funding actually did is Midland Funding did not get this collections account from the original creditor. Midland Funding buy it as a junk buyer, which means there was another company. You will see it in the case if you go and look it up, but if you don't have the time, I'm just going to summarize it for you and then show you how this is important when you're disputing collections. So what end up happens is that they bought the information from another debt buyer. So the debt buyer was a middleman, and as I find out in the collections packet, a lot of times these debts are sold multiple times. And when they are sold, the paperwork becomes much, much scanty and scanty and scantier. I'm going to tell you why that is the case. And even if they buy it directly, sometimes they don't have all of the paperwork that they should have. What end up happens is that when Terry Enkel disputed the info with Midland come back with it being verified. But Midland did not use the proper process and procedures to verify it. When the bureau or a creditor or a collector state that they verify an account, there are certain things that they have to use to verify the account. Right? So what ended up happening in this case, that Midland said that the account is verified when they did not follow proper procedure. Why they couldn't follow proper procedure? Because they bought the debt from a middleman, and the middleman is the one who have access to the original creditor. I lay out this in the collections packet. So Midland cannot go directly to the original creditor. In the debt buying process, when you have a middleman, is only the middleman have the right to go back to the original creditor to get certain kind of information if it is necessary. A lot of time when these accounts are sold, especially junk buying accounts, they are not sold with certain paperwork. They are not sold with certain paperwork. I'm going to tell you why this is the case, so you understand what was going on here. And have this information when you're doing your dispute, and don't just let them tell you that, oh, verify and you work with that and go ahead with that. What end up happens is that when they buy a lot of these collections accounts, they buy them in a portfolio. And the portfolio have a whole lot of different accounts, because these accounts are sold for pennies on the dollar, And because they sold for pennies on the dollar, for it to make sense, the bank sold them in bulk. So when the bank is selling its charge off or its collection, they sell it in bulk. They don't just sell one account. Now, when it is sold in bulk, and this is a lot of accounts, it would be too expensive for the original creditor to supply all of the paperwork or the necessary documentations of the account that would have given the debt buyer or the debt collector all the information that is necessary to come at you. They get the bare minimum, and most of the bare minimum is sometime enough to follow through on what is required when they should verify information like your name, your address, the amount owed, the name of the original creditor. Sometimes that's all they have, right? Sometimes they don't have any other kind of information on you, and they might get a scan copy of, for example, a statement or something like that. What ended up happening? Midland only had the basic bare minimum of this. So when Enkel disputed, Midland could not supply certain documents. And as I said, one reason why the debt is sold this way is because it would be too expensive for the original creditor in comparison to what the debt is being sold for to supply all the information. So they are not going to give that information. The second thing why they are not going to give the information, privacy reasons. They cannot just give up your information and certain aspect of your information. They can't just give it up because they will be liable for the breach of your privacy. Hope that those two things sink in and allow you to have information when you are disputing so you understand the game that you are actually being played by these companies. They might have the bare minimum to fulfill the validation requirements in the FDCPA. That's all they mostly sell them. And sometimes they will have probably a little bit. Sometimes not even the original creditor don't have all the information to verify the account. They don't have all the information to verify the account sometimes because after a certain amount of time, the requirement for them to keep your documents on file, once that expires, they usually get rid of a lot of the information from the file for storage purposes and other reasons, and then sometimes and also sometimes for security reasons, because imagine the more people information you have, if you have a data breach or something, then that becomes a problem. So they digitize a lot of these files and digitize it to the bare minimum. So sometimes not even the original creditor don't have all the information to verify the account. And they will still respond by saying verify. So it is important in the disputing process when they respond, whether it's the credit bureau or the creditor. If it's the credit bureau, Section 66 tells you that after they respond that it's verified, you have the right to ask them who did they use to verify it, and so on and so forth. And the credit bureau must supply you with a certain amount of information. You can also ask the creditor this. You can also ask the debt collector this. Sometimes the debt collector will only respond by telling you, the creditor says the information is correct. No, that's not enough to verify the information. So what ended up happening now, when Midland responded to Enkel that it's verified and Enkel press it, when it goes to court and it becomes comes to discovery, they realize that Midland did not have all the proper documentation to verify the account. I did not use the procedures that are required by law that must be followed for the verification to be seen as valid. But Midland went at the first instance and won. And it's up an appeal, Enkel get to blow the doors off with Midland funding. So when you do a dispute, in wrapping up, and it comes back as verified, please make sure that you follow the proper procedure in following up with the creditor. Don't get nervous once they say verified. Push them and try and get information out of them. If they are withholding information, there are certain things in the FCRA because they're supposed to follow procedure. If they are withholding information, then they're violating your right under the FCRA because the FCRA make it clear, especially as it relates to credit bureaus, that you have the right to ask them for a description. As a matter of fact, in the notice that they send, they must send you a notice when you dispute it first and tell you that you have the right to ask them to provide for verification that they have used, and this method of verification should entail the company that they use, the name of the company, the address of the company, and the phone number of the company. And then you can take it from there and follow up with that company. If it is another credit bureau, they get this information from. And sometimes that's what they do. Then you dispute that information because sometimes they don't have enough information on you. And one of the most important things in matching your files to avoid identity theft and mixed files is your social security number. And sometimes some of these people have information, don't have your social. And once they don't have that, then it's a bit more challenging to match you up, and you can dispute and challenge a lot of these things. So, all right, so I just want you to know this about collectors. When the collectors buy accounts, a lot of times they don't have the information that they should have. And it's just the nature of how the industry works. It's not because they are negligent or any of that. As I said, I have detailed briefly, I've detailed briefly in the collections, remove a packet. It will be in the description of this video. 20 letters, affidavit, and other stuff to deal with all kind of different collection. And I walk you through in the beginning of the packet in the introduction how the debt buying industry work, and I give you more information than just this for you to understand. So when you dispute, you kind of have an insight in what you need to do next, how you need to go about it. Don't be terrified when they say it's verified, because that verification might not have followed proper procedure. I hope this video was helpful. Peace. Until next time. Disputing process, verification process. The second leg of that. Peace.